Isn't it great endlessly scrolling through Instagram or TikTok and constantly seeing content from people that want to make you feel like their lifestyle and only their lifestyle is the correct one and the one that can lead to happiness? Well, I feel like so much of the online discourse about choosing to be a parent versus choosing to be child free consists of this type of content. There are videos of happy families making it seem like having children is the best thing in the world, and videos of child free couples making it seem like not having children is the best. And once this content enters your algorithm, it never really goes away. And it really seems like it is everywhere, with so many creators promoting the parent or the child free lifestyle. But why are these sorts of videos so popular? Hi, I'm Francesca, and I am a social scientist who likes to discuss data and findings about gender relations, women, and social political attitudes. And in this video, I really want to talk about the online feuds between parents and child free people and why I really don't like them. And I think they're so silly. I think they're silly because ultimately, the type of lifestyle that can lead to happiness will be very different for different people. Some will be happier with kids and some will be happier without kids. But I think it's still worth analyzing this phenomenon. Like, why are so many people obsessed with portraying their lifestyle as the only legitimate one, the only one that can lead to true happiness? And why do so many people end up fighting in the comment section trying to defend their personal choice to have or not to have children? To analyze this phenomenon, we first have to look at what the parents and child free content is all about. Within the parents' content, it's very typical to find videos that sort of put parenthood and family on a pedestal and make it all seem perfect, like these types of videos. And similarly, but in the opposite direction, the child free content focuses on kind of idealizing the DINK or dual income, no kids lifestyle, or in general, a more carefree lifestyle that a person, whether in a couple or single, can lead when they don't have to take care of children, like these videos. But unfortunately, people don't stop glamorizing their own lifestyle. With this type of content, they also often seem to criticize and take a jab at people that make different life decisions compared to their own. For example, within the parents group, it's common to find content that calls propaganda, anything that doesn't encourage traditional family values. Get ready with me type of videos that show cute family moments of parents and children getting dressed together to go attend church. Videos that promote going back to a lifestyle that emphasizes traditional gender roles within the family. And also, for example, videos that criticize people who maybe like to treat their pets as babies a little too much. Oops, I'm guilty. Um, in the same fashion, though, child free people's content also often makes fun of parents and having to take care of children, with videos highlighting why it's much more fun to spend time without children. Video trends that consist of listing the many fun and relaxing things that people can do when they don't have children to take care of and invest time and energy in. And even some videos emphasizing a distaste for children and their mere presence in general. Honestly, I think these videos sometimes are funny, but the arguments within these videos a lot of the time are just a bit superficial, and the goal of these videos just seems to want to make people jealous of a certain lifestyle, ignoring once again the very simple fact that different people might prefer different types of lifestyles for themselves. So the videos often end up being a bit unkind and only really end up antagonizing the other group of people, and become the perfect breeding grounds, no pun intended, um, the perfect breeding ground for keyboard warriors fighting in the comment section. But like most of the other online content, we cannot forget that parent and child free content creators want that engagement for their videos, whether positive or negative, because in the end, most of them really are not only trying to promote a lifestyle, but they're often also trying to sell a product. For example, remember back in 2020, 2021, at the beginning of the pandemic, when a lot of actors, influencers, and models all of a sudden got pregnant? Rather than a very important life decision, getting pregnant all of a sudden seemed to be a popular trend. A New York Times piece highlighted the fact that celebrities and influencers can make a lot of money from their pregnancy. Someone like Kylie Jenner could ask for more than $1 million to promote a brand on a pregnancy announcement post, for example. But the problem is, as the article states, that these brand partnerships reinforce the idea of motherhood as defined by consumption and spending, said Renee Kramer, a professor of law, politics, and society at Drake University, and the author of Pregnant with the Stars: Watching and Wanting the Celebrity Baby Bump. In her book, she explains the way celebrity mothers become branded exemplars of how ordinary people can and should live. When we see a celebrity holding up a certain brand of pregnancy test or diapers, Dr. Kramer said in an interview, it reminds average people that, well, this company belongs in your nursery, even if there's no good reason for it. And in another piece on this published by Vogue, Dr. Lucky Sekun, a fertility and reproductive medicine expert, also says that glamorized celebrity pregnancies are a problem because even for those who are not trying to conceive, the ease and glamour can set unrealistic expectations and standards. While the pregnancy itself is on display, the effort and potential time and treatment it took for that person to get pregnant and to that stage is not apparent. And the article continues by saying, and often it never will be made apparent. While there is something positive about the pregnant body being placed squarely in the public consciousness more frequently, the often hyper perfected presentation of said body by celebrities can be eye rolling at best and triggering at worst. And the same or similar can be said of the more recent trad wife trend that's been taking TikTok and Instagram by storm. I showed some trad wife content just before as part of the parents' videos. Some of the most popular trad wives are people like model Nara Smith or Hannah Nieleman of Ballerina Farm, who, whether on purpose or not, sort of idealize the traditional family lifestyle. Recent news articles criticize this trend as well, with an article saying, for example, critics say the tradwife trend glosses over the dangers or complications that can arise when a family is financially dependent on just one person. After all, it's only a small number of tradwife influencers who have the followers and reach to be able to meaningfully monetize their content. Another article published by the Harvard Crimson highlighted the contradiction of tradwife influencers, saying that it is crucial to acknowledge that tradwives are constructs of social media. These women are not stay at home mothers. They are entrepreneurs who entrance audiences of millions in order to sell an impossibility. They create a dream world online where women raising a school bus's worth of children somehow maintain the perfect kitchen, the perfect figure, and the perfect attitude. There is nothing wrong with enjoying the feminine fashion or beautiful farm aesthetics that these influencers show in their videos. However, it is dangerous to hold all women to these standards or ignore the negative effects that tradwife content can have on already stressed and overworked women. And like anything on the internet, the content posted by dinks or child-free people is not free from criticism either, with news articles commenting on this phenomenon as well. One of these articles, for example, as a quote from an expert that points out that dink videos can reek of privilege, and most seem to lack compassion or empathy for others who might have the deck stacked against them with factors like systemic racism, discrimination, and marginalization. The videos can be triggering to parents who are financially overwhelmed and lead to second guessing their life decisions and relationship conflicts, she adds. The article concludes by saying Dink videos serve as a reminder that the glossy life displayed in TikTok and Instagram is just that, a sleek representation of reality. On the flip side, the same goes for people who constantly post picture perfect videos and images of their well behaved children. And so, really, what becomes apparent is that these idealized lifestyles of parents and child free people online are often unachievable for a lot of normal people and most non-privileged people, which is also why I really don't like seeing this type of content. And I worry that people might really try to make important decisions like having or not having children based on what that lifestyle looks like for people online. Hopefully not. What is undeniable, though, as I briefly mentioned earlier, is that besides the problem of the unrealistic portrayals of a certain lifestyle by influencers and the likes, when it comes to the parents versus child free online content, most people who are consumers of the content really get triggered by it and take it very personally and often end up fighting or making snarky remarks in the comment section. There are so many of these comments everywhere, but here I'll just show you a few examples. You can find comments by parents saying that having kids is the best thing that they've ever done, like this comment in response to a video clip of child-free people relaxing by the pool. Kids are the best thing I've ever done. We had those drinks by the pool. They did cannonballs. Win-win. And similarly, you can find comments by child-free people saying that a life without kids is amazing, like this comment: 33 here, no kids, 2 cats, 1 dog, marrying my soulmate, traveling to Thailand and Japan for a month in November for our honeymoon, dual income, doing home renovations for fun. Life's amazing and stress free. Then there are comments from parents saying that child free people that criticize parents are just not happy people. For example, this person says, I don't understand creators who make being child free and talking shit about parents their entire personality. Go get a therapist, sis. Not all moms are out here hating their lives, lol. And one person agrees and says that part, like, woof, please get another routine. Then a person contradicts this sentiment and says, I'm a mom and never have I encountered any child free post that talks shit about parents. They just showcase their happiness of not having a child. Nothing wrong with that. And the person responds, the fact that they have to proclaim their happiness out loud over and over again tells me that they are in fact not happy, lol. And similarly, comments by child-free people say that parents that criticize child-free people regret having had children. This person, for example, says, kid-free forever, smiley face, smiley face. I hate comments like, won't you be lonely when you're older, or your clock is ticking as you age, lady, better start popping those kids out. Anyone asking these questions only wishes they were kid free and regrets their life choices of having kids. Just my opinion. So it's evident that parents and child free people are divided hold very different opinions about what lifestyles should make people happy and are very critical of lifestyles that basically don't match their own. So, how can we explain the fact that parents and non parents hold such different, if not opposite, values and attitudes? Well, there is, in fact, some social science research that can shed some light on this phenomenon. A group of researchers at Tulane University collected data on whether there are significant differences in social and economic conservatism between parents and non parents. Socially conservative attitudes indicate a preference for traditional family values and traditional gender roles, and oppositions to things like LGBTQ plus rights. Economically conservative attitudes instead indicate a preference for things like limited government and opposition to things like welfare benefits. Over many different studies, the authors consistently found that parents, on average, hold more socially but not more economically conservative attitudes than non parents. Similarly, individuals with higher parenting motivation, so those individuals who have greater desire for and are more willing to take care of children, those who have a soft spot for children, basically, regardless of whether they are parents or not, were also more socially but not economically conservative than individuals with lower parenting motivation. And this was true also when accounting for factors like age, gender, and relationship status. In fact, while it is true that generally older people are more socially conservative than younger people, parenthood and parenting motivation, at least in these studies, seem to account for the relationship between age and social conservatism, meaning that becoming a parent and caring for children might explain some of the increase in social conservatism that people experience with age. And the authors of these studies explain that since raising children is an incredibly difficult task, parents and those who are invested in taking care of children might endorse socially conservative attitudes because these attitudes promote social values like monogamy, for example, that just make it easier to raise children. The participants from these studies were mostly Americans, but the authors of the studies later also led a larger cross cultural project to investigate the same research questions, collecting data from participants in 10 different countries this time. Once again, they found that parents and individuals with higher parenting motivation were more socially but not economically conservative than non parents and individuals with lower parenting motivation, respectively. And that once again, parenthood and parenting motivation seemed to explain the increase in social conservatism with age. They also used archival data from 88 countries from the World Values Survey, which is a huge global research project that has been collecting data on people's social and political values and changes in these values over time. And using this data, the authors found that parents and individuals with a higher number of children reported higher sexual slash reproductive conservatism, so greater opposition to things like casual sex, pro choice policies, homosexuality, sex before marriage, etc. And overall higher social conservatism than non parents and individuals with fewer children, respectively. These results remain significant even when accounting for several potential confounding factors like religiosity, for example, meaning that parents were not more socially conservative because they were more religious. But most importantly, the authors also conducted experiments to test whether merely thinking of interacting with children or imagining one's own future child, for example, could directly affect research participants' social conservatism, regardless of whether the participants were parents or not. The authors found that participants, both parents and non-parents, those participants who emotionally engaged with this experimental childcare activity, so people who were emotionally invested in thinking of taking care of children, for example, reported more socially conservative attitudes than participants in a control group. These results then provide some support for the idea that parenting motivation really might cause an increase in social conservatism rather than the other way around, which is that having socially conservative views is what leads to having children. Other findings in line with these results were also reported in additional studies that were investigating similar research questions. In a study with data from 42 countries, the authors found that having a higher number of close relatives, including children, so basically having bigger families, also corresponded to holding more conservative attitudes like greater opposition to promiscuity, LGBTQ plus rights, women in politics, women in the workplace, and pro-choice views, and greater support for traditional marriage and traditional child rearing. In another study of American participants, having a higher number of children corresponded to holding more conservative gender-related values as well, and having a higher number of male children in particular was also associated with greater likelihood of having voted Republican in the last election. So, given these findings, it's really no surprise that parents and child-free people are so different and sort of push different views and values online. This is not true for all parents, but for some parents at least, given the average differences between parents and non-parents in these studies, it might be important to promote socially conservative attitudes because these attitudes support social values like, again, monogamy, for example, that really facilitate taking care of children and protecting the traditional family unit. For child-free people, instead, it's important to promote attitudes and values that are more relaxed and can support personal freedoms, for example. And these findings from social science research are pretty intuitive, as we can often see parents online having takes like this guy online says, get married and have kids. Then, and this is the most important part, don't let your pride get in the way of your worldview's inevitable shift to the right. And as I was doing research for this video, of course, I ran into a middle ground, a Jubilee video of parents versus child-free. In this video, one of the parents is a father of 8, and he provides a great anecdotal example of how having a lot of children can make you more socially conservative, because these are his views of today's society and marriage, views that he said he didn't have when he was younger.
But I just firmly believe that is a consequence of changes that have happened in society over the last 50 years. That's not a positive one. It's what we're doing to make up for the fact that gone are the days where you understood that if you got married or that if you had a child, you were going to be in a committed marriage. Now, that's not to mean that people didn't get into marriages that they shouldn't have because they had a child. But there was this idea that the framework for having children was marriage, and that's gone. And so when I'm into a relationship, I don't know if I'm going to drop a kid out and then the guy's going to run away.
Okay.
But statistically speaking, divorce is higher now.
Sure.
Right? Cheating is higher now. Is that a good thing for marriage and family? No, it's not a good thing for marriage and family. Why are they more common now?
And I've got to be honest, sometimes I really don't like these Jubilee videos because they really seem to feed off online and real life feuds and contentious topics, and they not always lead to productive discussions. But in this specific video, I think that some people did manage to make more nuanced arguments and have some productive discussions at least. For example, this woman who belongs to the child-free group makes this important point about the parents versus child-free online content, which is also exactly what I really tried to highlight throughout this video.
I'm concerned that young people are being made to believe that one choice or the other is going to provide them the happiness that they need.
Yeah.
So if I see on TikTok, in Reels, when I see child-free people at the yacht, on vacation, having the best time ever, and although that can be true, and I have those moments, I don't want that to be a representation of, if you don't have kids, that means you're going to have a happy life. Just like I feel that if you do have kids, that's not a guarantee for joy either.
And in fact, I think that even if the vast majority of the parents versus child-free online content is a bit toxic and almost tries to instigate fights between the two groups in the comment sections, there are also many people who try to have more positive and understanding points of view and we do start nuanced discussions. For example, there are many parents admitting that parenting is hard and that other people should not be forced to be parents if they don't want to.
I was just thinking, if you don't want to have kids, honestly, hell yeah. Good for you. Seriously, there's no but there. It's incredibly hard. I've never been more pro-choice than I am now, and it's because I have children. And no one who doesn't passionately want children should have children.
And similarly, there are also child-free people who understand how hard it is to raise children and decide that they cannot be parents because of that.
Choosing not to have kids is a trait of very highly empathetic people. They don't sugarcoat it. They don't have baby fever. They're like, I am fully aware that every action that I do with this little human will make a huge impact on them. They're fully aware of how much effort, how much time, how much money will take to sufficiently raise this little human being.
And even if people, of course, should be free to have or not to have children for whatever reason, there are also many people who would like to have children but can't because of life circumstances, like some of the people who responded to this thread of this guy asking how 30-plus-year-olds with no kids are doing. In one response, one person says, I'm sad every day because I've been trying for a kid since I turned 30, but my husband and I have fertility issues. How are you doing? Having fun asking stupid questions. Another person says 31, exhausted, hungry, knees are cracking, I need a cane, no kids, never married, still at home. Another person says confused, exhausted, living life, wondering if I'll ever get married and have kids. I'd love to. Or there are also people who are seriously considering not having children because of the very unfavorable economy. In a YouTube comment section, for example, one person wrote, in this economy, people are pressuring others to have children in this economy, all caps, not to mention climate change, conflicts, etc., etc. To conclude this video, I just want to say again that I really hate a lot of the parents versus child-free online content because ultimately it's very silly and superficial and it doesn't reflect the fact that it's a very hard and personal decision whether or not to have children. And people should feel absolutely free to choose what is best for them and not be influenced or worse pressured by the content that they see online. And similarly, people shouldn't try to convince or pressure people to choose either option by writing mean-spirited or snarky comments under a TikTok video or something, whatever their beliefs might be. The real conversation, which is going to be for another video, is that both those who decide to be parents and those who decide to stay child-free need to be better supported in their choices. For example, by making sure that parents have access to adequate financial and social support, that child-free people have access to affordable contraception, and much more. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you'll subscribe to stay tuned for more videos. But for now, bye!